Rebellious Studio presents the Mind Body Podcast with your host, Maria Angelova. Hey Rebels, welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria. It is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. And it is my great pleasure today to welcome my guest, Gigi Sabbat. Hello, Gigi, my friend. How are you doing?
Fantastic. It's such an honor to be here with you today, Maria.
Thank you so much for finding the time to be here. I know you're on a crazy schedule and I feel very privileged that you're here. I would tell you guys, I met Gigi through a networking event actually, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I was a guest on her podcast a couple of times and shall we?
Yes.
I am a co-author in one of her books that recently came out in December, Healing and Growth. So thank you for that. It's a fabulous book of inspiration and soulfulness is what I would say. These are the words I would use. And Gigi, I would let you introduce yourself by giving us 3 words that describe you and give us a little story behind each one. Who are you? Who is Gigi?
Such a great question, Maria. So I am the CEO and founder of Life Service Center of America. I'm also a motivational keynote speaker, and I'm also a coach. And I love helping others achieve their goals. Now, almost a few years ago, I almost lost my life, death by strangulation in a domestic violence relationship. And essentially, after everything that happened, I stepped into God's purpose for my life. I got baptized again as an adult. I reread the Bible again as an adult, and I just stepped into God's purpose for my life. And I haven't looked back since. I'm just in tune with the purpose He has for my life. And after everything that happened, I launched a podcast, I launched books, and I launched a company, Life Service Center of America. But you know, Maria, God also led me to host several events. It started off with domestic violence and sexual assault, topics that I'm a survivor of. But then God also led me to host the events on human trafficking, mental health, pregnancy topics, and various topics. And we were continuing to do those events. For example, we have the Confidence Conference coming up here, the Leadership and Business Conference, and other survivor topics as well this year.
Yes, very inspirational. I still want 3 words that describe you, Gigi. I'm not going to let you get off the hook. 3 words that describe who you are.
Possibly you can help me out with that, Maria. How would you describe Gigi?
You know what? If like I had to not even think about it, passionate would be 100% on the top of the list. Super high energy. There are very few people who beat my energy level, but I think you're definitely a top level contender out there. And I would say purposeful. I do think you're very purposeful into everything that you do, which I love about you.
Thank you, Maria. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I just think you have that contagious energy that's inspiring and motivating. And, you know, everything that I see, I do not spend much time browsing social media, but every time that I see something you post, it makes me smile because it carries that pure energy, high vibrational, pure energy.
Amen. And thank you for those kind words. I appreciate you. And so what a lot of folks are not aware of, again, and or if you are aware, you may not know, but I almost lost my life. And so for me, again, I don't see from the same lens. And I mean that because it's true. And also too, I'm also able to understand folks from their place of pain than ever before. And it's just, again, just me being in tune with God's purpose for my life.
And Gigi, what do you tell to somebody who is maybe at that stage where it feels like there is no next step, no tomorrow because things are so bad? What do you tell to somebody like that?
That's a really great question. And so I tell you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and keep the faith and hold on. Don't give up. Don't give up, and remember whose you are, and also to continue to move forward no matter what. And so essentially, a lot of individuals believe that the business, how it is today, was always the way it was. And it doesn't happen that way. I, as a business owner, face my fair share of challenges as well, and continue to do so. What business owner does not? And so if you're listening to this message today, maybe you're someone who also wanted to start a business and you're at the starting point now. I encourage you to keep going, and you can do it. And not to give up, and you have support from your community as well. Continue to move forward, and also remember that it's not about you, it's about the people that you serve.
Yeah. Gigi, what would you say when you were in your darkest moments? What pushed you forward? Is there a particular moment or a particular event that happened that you were like, something has to change and I'm just going to make that leap, even though I don't know what's out there?
Wow, that is a great question. And it brings me to the other book as well. So the other book, so it's, I have the God First, I have the Walk With Me book, as well as the Overcoming Heart Blocks book, Inspiring Stories for Healing from Trauma. So when you talk about what trauma may have occurred or some sort of challenge that may have occurred, it takes me back to the sexual assault that occurred as an adult. Mind you, I was already sexually assaulted when I was 8 years old. So when it happened again as an adult, for me, I said, well, wait a minute. When I woke up the next morning, I said, well, why do I feel numb to pain? What's going on here? And I said, I never want anyone to feel that way. No one should have to feel that way. And I talk about it in the Overcoming Heart Blocks book, Inspiring Stories for Healing from Trauma. And so what we found too is that not everyone has faced the same sort of trauma, but they do have what is called a heart block that stems from some sort of trauma. And it could be truly any sort of trauma. And so going back here, circling back to that pain, feeling numb to pain, again, I never wanted anyone to feel that way after going through that myself. But you asked me what got me through, and it's truly my faith. And I'm just grateful for my faith. And I'm just grateful to God, and just continuing to be able to continue to serve his people. Mind you, I was already doing that. When you love what you do, it's no longer work. And so I love serving others. That's been my entire life. That's nothing new, so to speak. I mean, if you knew what I did before, you know that. So and so it's just I'm continuing to serve folks on a different platform is what I say.
And you bring up faith. I have had these conversations recently with a few people, actually, that there is believing and then there's being truly faithful. And that's when you just trust that I'm going to make a leap, and I know there's going to be a hand out there to catch me, right? Or
That's
to
right.
let me help, or to support me, or to give me what I need, anything that I need. And I think that takes you to the next level of growth when you have that type of faith. You mentioned as an entrepreneur, we all go to those, not just as an entrepreneur, everybody goes to those ups and downs, right? Where we're like, oh, why is this so difficult? Why is this so challenging? And the faith that you have, that you develop as you go to your journey, and knowing that everything that happens for you. And sometimes those are tough challenges that you go through, right? But right. Look, like an example of you, where it has taken you to where you're blessing so many people with the work, the quality of the work that you do. I mean, it's powerful. It's making me emotional.
Thank you. Likewise. And so going back here, because I had an individual tell me the other day, you have these books, you have all these things, right? And going back to the behind the scenes, right? We don't really talk about that. And so really talking about the trauma, I think folks say, okay, well, it's a book, right? A book was put out and all that. But focusing it on the title now and focusing it on the trauma, it's not easy to circle back, especially to a childhood trauma as well, and then really write it down. That's not easy either. I mean, if you're listening to this message and you face some sort of trauma, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, and also too, if you face a challenge, you know what I'm talking about. But essentially, I understood, again, for me, my good friend said, it may help someone. Any story I've ever shared, just going back to what my friend said, it may help someone. For me, that was enough. That was enough. And I literally just sat back and I gave it to God. And I let him direct me on what he needed me to do.
Another great point you're making, your story. It's your story, and it's not a very comfortable story to put out there to the world and to say, this has happened to me. But what a way to empower so many others who are going through the same thing. Because I think sometimes I have a client dealing with some things, and there is a lot of shame and a lot of guilt associated with whatever he's going through. And sometimes I think when we get vulnerable and we say, there are others like me, and to give them that platform to say, you will be okay. And it doesn't mean you're damaged, right? And it's not on you. It's, yeah, Gigi, this is like getting deep. It's empowering. It's empowering not only to you, but to those you serve.
That's right. That's right. And even my own mother came forward about her own heart block. And I tell you this story here. Her and I were just chatting it up, and she shared her story about her heart block. And literally, she went to work. She's a nurse. She went to the hospital. She was working, and I was writing my chapter. I said, oh, let me include my mother in my chapter, right? Let me ask her. And I asked her for a paragraph on what she shared with me the other day. And you know, Maria, what she sends me back, I said, Mom, this is a chapter. This is a chapter. This is not a paragraph. And so she ended up becoming a part of the book. And so that's how God is sometimes, right? You just never know. And also too, I was not aware that other individuals had what is called a heart block. I literally thought I was the only one, especially when you're sitting there and you're not chatting it up with anyone about those sort of things. You're not aware that other folks may have that. And so the individuals that did come forward about their heart block, I was truly not just grateful, but gratitude for those individuals as well, who really came forward, because I know it's not easy. And especially the type of traumas that they mentioned as well in the book. Oh my goodness, it's not easy to do what they did. And also too, understanding that there's other individuals as well who have gone through the same sort of trauma. Other folks have come forward about their trauma. And I mean, we really have to talk about the root cause. We have to talk about the trauma.
Yeah. And I'm also glad you're bringing up the importance of having those people around you. I call it the tribe of people who support you, who understand and make you feel like you're not just out there on an island, but they've got you. And many of them can relate to you. Now, sometimes when something happens, we feel so alone and so isolated, and it's just me. And then when you open up, you're like, wow, it's not just me. There are others who are going through the same thing. And I think that's something you're phenomenal at, creating a community, a safe community for people who have gone through hardships and trauma. And you're giving them a voice which then empowers and serves those who are on their journey up.
Thank you, Maria. And for your audience, if you're listening to this message today, you matter and your voice matters.
Yeah, and it's powerful. It's really powerful, because I see that I've come to several of your events, and the stories that are shared are like, wow, they really, people speaking from the heart. And if you have not been to one of Gigi's events, I would encourage you to check them out, because they are heart-wrenching. And, if you think that your life is tough, you should hear some of those stories and see the type of things people are dealing with. It's really inspirational, and there's a lot of vulnerability, which I think is empowering for all of us.
Thank you, Maria. And essentially too, when we talk about the events coming up this year, God led me to do them on the OCD. I'm talking about the survivor topics here, ADHD, eating disorder, and then also the Foster Care Warriors Conference. And so I truly believe it's for a reason, not for no reason. And so it would be being disobedient to ignore what he said to do a conference on. You see what I'm saying? So yeah. I'm not sure of the reason, so to speak, yet, but that's not for me to know, you see? And so I don't need to know why. I'm just listening to him and understanding again, whose I am. And also too, we have the Royal Warriors Conference coming up. That's our in-person event at the end of the year in September. And so if you're listening to this message today, make sure to reserve your virtual seat. Why? Because we're almost sold out.
Yeah. And Gigi, to what you just said, remember I said one of the words for you is purpose. And I think you're very driven purpose, which is another piece that I love about you, because I don't think I really understood what purpose has to do until the past 5 years. And connecting to your purpose and serving from, sometimes you don't really know. Like somebody asked me, why do you keep growing and like doing stuff? Aren't you comfortable? And I said, yes, but I said, there is a reason bigger than me, right? I see how what I do empowers others and changes their lives. And that drives me to want to do more. So it's really, like you said, it becomes bigger than you. It's not about you. It's about serving the world. And people make fun of me, but I say changing the world one person at a time.
That's right. And I want to circle back and talk about what you just brought up to the surface, because it's powerful. And I do talk about it in the Walk With Me book as well. You know, a lot of times I believe, and especially in this generation, folks tend to compare themselves to others. If you're listening to this message today, don't compare yourself. You were created in God's image. You are truly unique. Every single individual on this earth is unique. And also too, did you know that your fingerprints, right? No two individuals have the same fingerprints. not even twins, okay? And so I want you to remember that. And I want you to remember just how unique you are. And as unique as you are, that's how unique your purpose is. God has given each and every one of us as his children a unique purpose. Just look at Maria, for example. Maria, when you think about Maria, you think about Maria and how she serves others through the type of work that she does and helping others, and with the Pilates and everything that she does as a business owner and serving her clients. Okay. And when you think about Gigi and you know the type of work that I do, then you know whom I serve as well. And you know what I do. And now I want you to think about yourself and whose you are and the type of work that you're doing. And so you see, utilize this as an example. No two individuals are the same. Maria and I aren't the same. And so your purpose is unique and your purpose matters. Your purpose matters. And so, yes, you do have a role on this earth. And I encourage you to step into your purpose. And so oftentimes folks say, well, no, I can't do it like this and I can't do it like that, or this person. Stop the comparing yourself. Stop comparing yourself. And essentially, I encourage you to circle back to that purpose, which you know is on the shelf, but you put it there. Why did you put it there in the first place? Number one. Number two, why haven't you gone back to that purpose and stepped into it? And number three, step into it. Step into it. I really want you to get in tune with it. And I've been there. When you're not so focused. Yes. I keep saying it, I remember.
Yes.
I remember vividly. And so this is the thing. When you let go and you let God, and again, you just let him, he will lead you there. So even if you don't circle back to it, he'll take you there. He'll take you there.
You have to trust, and you have to have the faith and to know that you're going the right place and just be like, take me.
Yes, trust him, and let go and let God. And essentially he has a sense of humor, doesn't he? Because if you don't go back there, he'll take you there. And when you go there, I encourage you to step into purpose, regardless. Always step into purpose. And when you're in there, don't go back. Don't go back.
So Gigi, let's talk about that, because that's another topic that I love to talk about. Why do most people step into their purpose? Let's talk about fear. Let's talk about being outside the comfort zone.
That is such a great point that you raise. Fear. That is exactly what it is. Bullseye. So fear can cause folks not to step into purpose. It can cause folks to not believe in themselves. And so I want to tell you today that I believe in you, and to write this down as well. Faith over fear. Faith over fear. And I'll say it one more time. Faith over fear. And so fear is having that confidence in the things that you cannot see. You can't see it. Oftentimes folks say, well, I can't see it, so it's not going to happen, or it can't happen because I don't see it. Where is the evidence? That's what they want. They want to see it. Here's the thing. That's what they call faith. You can't see it. You won't see it.
Yeah.
But when it does happen, remember that you kept the faith, and you had faith as small as a mustard seed.
I have this conversation frequently with clients when, people say, oh, like this is religious and this is spiritual. And I say, it's inevitable to grow and not become spiritual. You can't grow and not be spiritual, right? You can't, right? Because we want to touch it, we want to know it, we want to understand it. And I understand that. I come from the field of finance, okay? Like I need to match up the numbers, I need to reconcile the numbers, right? And then I found myself on my entrepreneurial journey wanting to do something completely different, very uncomfortable. I got the feedback of the world, that's silly. And then I wanted to go this way, and I was like, no, we're going to go this way. And I was like, no, and look where that journey has taken me. I mean, like you said, like, I feel so happy and fulfilled because I feel like I'm living in my purpose. And it is, I know you can attest to that. I mean, you can feel it in the energy, in the way that you talk. It's you are living in your purpose, and it's a completely different experience than going through each day, blah, 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 right?
That's right. And not just that, I had an individual was on his show. He asked me as well, as far as the trauma. He said, what is it on the other side? Not just of purpose, but also of trauma as well. And I tell you what, it's peace. So I think you brought a great point up, Maria, as far as the purpose goes, because it's right in alignment with the trauma as well. If you're listening to this message today and you're doing some sort of work on the front lines and you have some trauma that's really keeping you from doing what God has called you to do, I encourage you today to really face the trauma that you've endured. And I say that because you, right, when you're serving, you do not want to serve from an empty cup. You must serve from a cup that is filled. And so I want to encourage you today that you're not alone and that you can do it. You can do it. And to keep up the good fight. Keep up the good fight. And I want to circle back to what Maria said as well, as far as when you have a plan and it doesn't work out. Let's talk about it for a moment, because it's such a great point. Maria said she went through so many different paths, but here she is and she's living in her purpose. She's happy. If you're listening to this message today and you had a plan, it may have been a long list that you wrote. I've seen folks say, I have this long list and it didn't work out. What on earth happened? Because I put dates, I put it all, right? I had some folks pull out their planners and show it all to me, stickers and all. It didn't work out. You know why it didn't work out? Because God knows the plans that he has for you.
And they're better.
Amen. And
Yeah.
they're better. Yeah. And hence why I never, if something didn't work out, I say, okay, God, I understand. I don't question it. And that's what I learned. You don't question him. You say, thank you, God.
You know, I used to go through a lot of stress and anxiety. I used to have anxiety attacks because I was very much a control freak and perfectionist, and it had to work that way. And I did a lot of business planning in what I did, right? We have deadlines and we had to hit numbers, and right. And then I found myself in entrepreneurship and I was like, oh, what's happening? I was completely out of control, right? And it was very uncomfortable from where I was used to being. And I learned, Gigi, exactly what you say, that when things don't work out, they don't work out because there is a reason, there is a lesson for me in there, and there is a better path that I'm being led to. And you know what? Speaking of peace, it has brought me so much peace. My anxiety is gone. Like, I handle stress in a completely different way, right? And I'm intentional about serving the world with a cup full. Exactly what you said. So look at that. I love that. I knew that was going to be a great episode. I knew it.
Yes, yes. And Maria, there's a story of an individual on the highway, right? And they were led to have to get gas, right? And it's oftentimes you're in there, you're on the highway, and you don't really want to get gas, and you don't understand why the GPS is taking you there as well, right? And so it's so important to understand and stay in tune with God's direction as well. And so later on, that individual finds that, okay, an accident occurred, you see? And so understanding that you wanted to rush to get to the destination, but God said, no, my child, no, my child. And so you see, it's the destination. The destination can lead folks to do two things. It can lead folks to say, well, I can't do this, or to give up, right? It's a matter of how you look at it. Or you can look at it and say, I will get there. I may not get there when I wanted to, but I will get there on God's timing. And God's timing is always right. And so if you're listening to this message today and there's some friction there on a goal or something that you set and you haven't reached it yet, or a plan that you set out to do, understand that God put that plan on your heart for a reason. His timing is always right. Don't worry. Don't worry. Let go and let God.
You know what? Maybe I needed to hear that message today, because on Monday in my group coaching, we talked exactly about that, because I became aware. I caught myself that I was being impatient with something, right? And I was like, oh, come on, I want to fast track. I've had clients say, can I just press the fast forward button? It's like, no, that's not how it works, right? And I had to remind myself that, okay, there is a reason why that's not happening as fast as it doesn't. I think we're so programmed as humans, right, to have the deadline and it has to happen now. And once again, goes back to acceptance, right? It was not meant to happen today. Be patient. It will happen exactly when it's meant to happen.
That's right. And I think a lot of individuals may have a preconceived notion that people with energy are not focused or that they're not organized, but I don't believe in that. It's similar to what folks believe about folks with ADHD. I think that if you just listen to someone with those type of components or aspects or futures, that you will really realize that it's actually the complete opposite. And so, and you just said it, right? You're very well structured, but although things may not work out, you still keep going. You still keep going.
Yes, and let's talk about that. Consistency is so key, right? Because everything that doesn't go our way or the way we want it to go, there is a reason, right? And there is a lesson. I said there are no mistakes, there are only lessons.
That's right. If you're listening to this message today, make sure to remain consistent. It is very important. It's not just one and done. And similar to when you're reading the Bible, a lot of individuals I chat with, they say, I want to build a relationship with him, Gigi, or they believe in a higher power of some sort, right? And so I'm all about meeting people where they are. And I love you as you are, right? Everyone's a child of God. And so I want to tell you this, is that I love what Joyce Meyer says, because she says that it's not just about flipping through the pages of the Bible, right? It's about continuing to build a relationship with him. And it's so important. It's key, because it's not one and done. It's not one and done, no matter what you do on this journey we call life. And so, and essentially too, for example, we've hosted an event each year on domestic violence and breast cancer. Some folks will say, oh, well, I thought you were done at the first one. No, it's not one and done. And we continue to serve. Oh, but wasn't it recorded? And that does not matter. Why? Recorded or not, we still continue to serve. It's not one and done. And so I give you those examples to let you know, although you may have done something, continue to do what God has called you to do. That's my point.
Yeah. I have these conversations with my husband, and he'll say, why do you keep going to the same events? They keep talking about the same thing over and over. And my answers to that is, the more you evolve, right, the more you grow, you hear the exactly same message a completely different way. Has this ever happened to you, where you're like, I have written this thing 100 times, and for the first time, I really realized what that means? Has this ever happened to you?
Of course, yes. And sometimes folks will say, even with some of the music I listen to, I'll listen to it over and over again. And they say, well, what are you doing, Gigi? You just heard this song, right? But sometimes, like you said, it's about meeting people where they are. If you were to tell me you were to go to the same conferences over and over again, I wouldn't judge you. I would ask you, Maria, why? I would ask you. I would not assume. I would ask you because I would know it's something deeper, right? And then when you tell me, I wouldn't judge you. Why? Because I'm all about meeting people where they are, and I understand everyone is truly unique. I don't expect Maria to be like anyone else, for example, Sally, or anyone near her, or you are all unique. So that's why I never take anyone to be the same as anyone else. You are all unique.
You know what, and I say that you have to meet the client, in my case, right, where they are. I can tell the exact same thing to 3 different people, and all 3 are going to have a different interpretation of what it is, right? And that's okay. That's where we are on a different point of the journey. There's nothing wrong with it, no judgment. You brought up the word unique. So with that, let me ask you, because we can't finish without me asking you this. What is your definition of rebellious?
Rebellious. To me, it means that you are so in tune with purpose that no matter what anyone says, you keep going no matter what. You keep going no matter what, regardless of the distractions, regardless of anything external. You remain rebellious and you keep going. And why? Although it may be completely opposite to some folks and they may look at it as something bad, it's actually something really good when you focus in on purpose. Because when you love what you do and you understand it's no longer work and you're so in tune with your purpose, nothing can stop you, right? Nothing.
Unstoppable.
As long as you're breathing on this planet and you understand God's purpose for your life and you're so in tune with it, I'll say it again because it's so important. Nothing can stop God's purpose for your life. God already knows the plans that he has for you. And if it didn't work out, it's for a reason, not for no reason.
Yes.
And so that's why I respect everything that didn't work out accordingly, because I understand it happened for a reason.
Yeah. Gigi, thank you for filling up my cup. I feel so inspired. It's all of a sudden like really hot in the room. Like I can feel my body temperature rising. Thank you, girl, for the inspiration. I love it. I love you. Thank you for being with us. Gigi, where can people follow you, find you, and all of the stuff that you do? What's the best place for them to follow you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Gigi Sabbat. You can also find me on IG. I do have one of those now as well. Yes. Folks may think I'm an expert. I'm still getting there, right? I'm still getting used to utilizing social media. It's been a few years, but yes. We all have to start somewhere, right?
Yes, we do.
So, just being completely transparent with you all. And also too, you can find me on my website. That's Life Service Center of America, LLC.com.
Gigi, thank you, my friend. I wish you continued success, continue serving, continue doing your passionate work. And you guys, thanks for listening. I hope you're as inspired as I am right now. Have a rebellious day.
Likewise. God bless.
Can't get enough of those rebellious conversations? Do make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends.